Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show.
You're listening to In My Humble.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, IMHO Talk Show, back like we never left. Sir Charles, Miss Max, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we do appreciate it. Give it up for yourselves, give it up for yourselves. And we have another good 3 hours of entertainment for the good people. Another good 3 hours of entertainment. IMHO Talk Show. Tell a friend, tell a friend. Today, we are going to be joined by none other than the Charlottesville United for Public Education. They have a community forum coming up with none other than your city school board candidates. So we're going to be talking about that and their mission. As well as middle of the show, you don't want to miss it. We have none other than our own Dr. Wes Bellamy coming to just, catch up on a little bit of everything. You never know what Wes is up into, right? So, we're going to talk about a little bit of it all. But, most pressingly, we, see that he has taken over chairmanship of the Charlottesville Housing Redevelopment Association. So definitely got to touch on that. But we're going to kick off the show when we come right back with none other than our sister girl, the queen of the arts, if she don't mind me, I'm giving her another alias. Leslie Scott Jamz of the Jefferson School Heritage Center. They have a full lineup this fall going to the end of the year for us and celebrating 10 years of that center. So definitely want to see how we can continue to support that more so than ever. And so you don't want to miss it. Tell a friend. IMHO Talk Show, streaming worldwide online, WVAI. Sir Charles, Miss Max. Be right back after this.
Support today is coming from Price Hyundai, home of the Ioniq 5 EV.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all of these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jamz from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jamz from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion, only on 101.3 Jamz.
Yes, indeed. As promised, we are here with none other than Leslie Scott Jones. How you doing?
I'm good. You know, I had a lovely birthday party at my house yesterday. Had some friends and some fam over. Doing good.
That is what we like to hear. So the Jefferson School African American Heritage Center.
Yes.
Right. For everybody should know. But Leslie, I got to be honest with you. I personally don't feel like that everybody has supported. I'm gonna call our people to the call. That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
This is my bullet point.
I'm with you.
So I actually heard a message this morning that stuck with me, and the phrase that they said was, "Unity doesn't have to be uniform."
Absolutely.
Right? Meaning we do things different. We have different talents, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Blackness is a spectrum.
That's right. It's not a monolith, right?
Yeah.
But we could still be unified, in our goal.
Yes.
Right? Like sort of in the end result, right?
Yep.
The end is justifying all of our multifaceted meaning.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So that's important. Unity doesn't mean uniform. So that being said, what is refresh the people? What is the mission and purpose of the Jefferson School Heritage Center?
The mission is to uplift and tell the stories of the Black people of Charlottesville. Right? We start with history as our basis for everything, not just the history of the Jefferson School as a school, but the history of Charlottesville. 1860.
That's a deep undertaking.
1860, this place was 53% black. Black, you know what I'm saying? So this has always been a chocolate city. This place, we built this place, you know? And over the last few decades, we got real comfortable and stopped telling our own stories to our own people. So the people who live in these places around town that are historically black or have that kind of history attached to them, the people that live there don't know it anymore. You know, so it's our job to hold those histories and hold space for those histories and to give space to people who want to add to that narrative, right? And say, oh, you got a story about your grandparents who lived on, you know, lived on 10th and Page, and come on, let's get it on record. Let's take this and put it in context with the overall history of that neighborhood, and let's tell the complete history, right? And because the history is always our foundation, we are always looking at ways to make sure, you know, people know it, that people can retell it accurately, and to make sure that it's not forgotten in the stories that we're creating for ourselves today, right? So we want to make sure that the stories of Black people are not being left out when new development happens, right? You can't just because you have the money to buy a building and redo it doesn't mean you get to discount the people who have lived in that neighborhood for generations. You absolutely have to take into account what they've been through, what their taxes are used to being, what they want their neighborhood to look like and act like. Just because you got a pocket full of money don't mean nothing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. You know? and that goes back to the support, right? Of us respecting and appreciating the need for something like the Heritage Center, right?
Yes.
Because on one hand, people will say, well, things are going to evolve. History will be history. And unfortunately, as you see, if it doesn't make our people stand up when they see actual politicians trying to negate and erase our history from the teachings of our children,
right?
If that's not enough for you, like when people come in with the resources, so to speak, that's a sign that we have to be united, right? Because there's power in us being unified, right? Yep. Once again, in us sort of keeping control over what's ours. And sometimes we even say that we don't have enough money to go up against a developer or whatnot.
But it ain't all about money.
It ain't all about money, but also we have the buying power.
Absolutely.
And if we have to, and the only way that business people listen, the only way the top percent listens, you got to hurt their pockets.
Absolutely.
So again, we're unified, and we say this is what we stand for. This is our. I was talking to my brother Wes, about like what is our agenda? Again, unity, not uniformity, but like what is the plight? Black Charlottesville. Like what's important?
Right.
Like where do we intersect and what's important?
Yep.
And if we stand together,
on those things,
then you get your way. Like that means city government has to listen, developers have to listen, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. And we have always been the place where Black people can come and say, yo, this is happening, and this group of people, I represent this group of people, and we want to have a voice. How do we do it? Yeah. And we've always been the place where we say, oh, that's your problem? Hold on, let me make a phone call, because we know such and such, and they're the people that handle that, and we're going to put you in touch with that.
Exactly.
And we're going to see what we can do.
Yeah, that's the importance of appointing the right people, right, to our boards, to our local government, that reflect our values. And then when they get in there, when the pressure is put on, like even with the Jefferson, right, like when funds get low and whatnot, like you're going to miss it when it's gone. So like those are the times where if you weren't before, you can be showing up, and making the donations and whatnot, because that's important, like that, our representation.
And it's funny to me that, one of the things that we have heard in the past was, oh, well, all that stuff you do, you only do it for white people. Actually, no. Let me just, I'm a, Rob, sis, I'm gonna need you to come to my office and sit down. We gotta talk. Because that is absolutely untrue. Everything that we do has a basis in Blackness.
Yep.
Absolutely everything. From Charlottesville Players Guild that only does theater written by Black people for Black people, to the exhibitions in our contemporary gallery. We do 4 exhibitions a year, all Black artists.
Yes.
We do Kwanzaa. We do Liberation and Freedom Day. We do Juneteenth. Like, everything that we do is about celebrating the width and breadth of Blackness.
Yes.
Now, we can't help who walks in the door.
Yes.
And they love to come in the dough. You know what I'm saying?
And so that's so
they love our rhythm and they hate our blues.
And Leslie, I gotta interject because that's so important. Like, I want you to understand that too, because you see it with so many organizations as well. Like you said, whoever wants to support can support. But on the downside, what happens is, if those are the only folks that's coming through the door, if those are the only folks that's donating, if those are the only folks that's volunteering, what have you, then evolution would say that they eventually would take control. You know what I mean? And I say that with all due respect, because
I understand.
I'm not trying to default.
I understand.
Dr. Douglas did.
And let me tell you, we, Dr. Douglas and I, on the daily, have to shut certain white people down. Right? We on the daily have to look at a white person and be like, you do realize this ain't for you. You do realize this is actually not your space. And you don't have autonomy here to make the type of decision that you are attempting to make. On the daily. When we go to find funds, we look at who the funders are we're going to. And there are some places where we're like, you know what? We don't want that kind of money.
That's important.
Right?
That's important. All money ain't good money.
All money ain't good money. And we have to be very careful about who we allow. I mean, there are some people that we won't even allow to rent the space because we don't want that association. So we are always very cognizant of making those choices. And what I would say is that if you come to a free and open event and you see a lot of white faces, then maybe you should have brought a free fan switch. Because if we're not going to take care of the places that are there for us, then what are we doing? Y'all show up 10 deep for a basketball game at Tonsler, but you won't show up for a jazz concert?
Right.
I mean, that's our stuff.
Yeah.
That's our stuff. That's music that we created.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's the issue? But but it's not gonna. It is not going to deter Dr. Douglas or myself. Like, we are here for the mission, and we're going to continue to do what we do, knowing that that the community is behind us, right? That the community does support us. They want us here. They want us holding that space.
Yes.
So, we're going to do what we do.
That's right. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate it.
But we need to talk about the stuff we got coming up.
Absolutely. I had to break the ice. I got to get you in your zone. We not mincing words up here.
Oh no! You've met me. I don't mince no words.
Yes, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by Leslie Scott Jones of the Jefferson School Heritage Center. As I said, they are up on the 2-year anniversary. And so, Leslie, also we didn't mention, for those who may be new to you and your work, let the folks know your title, and then if you wouldn't mind, let us know what the culmination of 10 years personally means to you, and then to the community.
Yeah. So I am the curator of learning, engagement, and public programs. It's a very long title. And basically what it means is that I'm in charge of all of the public programming, all of the forward-facing programming, and involved in creating education opportunities for our young folk. And 10 years, it's a lot, especially when
I'm gonna say it feels longer. I must say.
Really?
I'm like 10 years, that's it, I mean, like it's a great milestone, but if some reason I was thinking, like y'all been in existence with the current structure longer.
No, and you know what? What it feels like to me is that because no one thought we were going to make it 5 years, to hit that 10-year mark, it's that, all right, you see, right? It was kind of like, when someone says, well, we'll see what you're doing in 5 years, it's kind of like, oh yeah, we will see. Yeah. We will absolutely see.
Yep.
But petty is strong in me, But we've got so much coming up. So Charlottesville Players Guild is the only Black theater program in the area. In 2016, we started a project to produce all of August Wilson's American Century Cycle, which is a cycle of 10 plays, each written in a different decade of the 20th century. And
can I interject there? Because I see August Wilson's name a lot in your work. So school us on the connection to August Wilson.
Oh, well, the reason that we wanted to do Wilson was because he's talking about Black life in each decade in a city that is very similar to Charlottesville, in that it's a traditionally Black neighborhood that goes through bouts of urban renewal and gentrification. It's talking about, the width and breadth of Black life, and it gives you a window into Black life during each decade of the 20th century. We also wanted to do it because no other playwright has ever done something like this. No other playwright has written this type of piece, right? Some playwrights have done triptychs, which are like 3 plays that are connected, but no other playwright has done a series of 10 plays that are all interconnected, not just through subject matter, but also through characters and lives. The best friend in Fences is mentioned in Jitney, right? So the son in 7 Guitars that is the woman is pregnant with the son that's in 7 Guitars shows up as a grown man in King Henry II. So these plays are connected in ways that are so intricate and so it really is Black life, right?
And I'm glad you said that, because that went over my head. Like, I did not realize all the connections. And that being said, August Wilson doesn't get enough credit.
He doesn't,
because that's like J.R.R. Tolkien. Like, that's like Marvel comic book.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you think about the fact that a lot of Black artists, especially in this area, before we started this project, didn't even know who he was, had never read his plays. And so that's been the joy for me, is seeing these artists that I've been on stage with before, I've directed before, or find Wilson and find so much richness and intricacy in it, and really understand that there are things that are written for you that you can connect to in a way that you would never connect with something else, right? So yeah, we started in 2016. We did fences first, and we are on the last one. We came Headley the second, and it opens next week on the 12th.
Yeah, and listeners, I did share the link to the Jefferson events page as well.
Yes.
Follow up on those dates and ticket sales.
Yes, the 12th through the 22nd, Thursday through Sunday, for 2 weeks. Thursday through Saturday, house opens at 7, show starts at 7:30, and on Sundays, house opens at 1:30, show starts at 2. And this has been really amazing to watch because the setting for the play is the backyard of these 2 houses. Okay. And because of urban renewal and gentrification and all kinds of other stuff, there's a third house that would have been there, but it's been knocked down. So you can look through and see the other side of the street, right? So we had a wonderful graphic designer who painted a backdrop of the street. Okay. So we've got this amazing backdrop in the back, and it's a really cool set. It's a really cool set, and the cast is amazing. Chris Evans is playing Headley. He last worked with us directing Set of Guitars. Ike Anderson is in it. Denise Foley, Cadessa Davis, Jordan Sykes, and I'm gonna forget Nick's last name. I'm so sorry, Nick. But I can't remember his last name right now.
So
but this is an amazing. Oh.
You good.
He's gonna come to me. But anyway, it's an amazing cast, and they are working so hard, and I'm just floored. And the fact that we got a hometown bra to come home and direct it. It's directed by Darnell Walker.
That's right.
That was a coup for me too, right? I was like, I literally saw him last summer. He was back in town visiting family, and just happened to see him out, and he was like, yeah, y'all still doing theater? And I'm like, we absolutely are. I was like, wow, you come in? And he's like, what you got coming up next season? I want to do something. Like, that's I always got stuff. Let's go.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: when you think about folks like Darnell, when you think about the rise of the offensive story, it's a big screen. Do you ever focus on that at all, to try to draw more attention, or does that make a difference when it comes to folks' perception of things, sort of the degrees of separation of saying, oh, Fences that Denzel was in, let me go check that, you know what I mean, or saying, oh yeah, Darnell doing good things, so I'm gonna go check that out. Do you try to maybe do plays that may be more familiar, or do you feel like you want to open people up to new experiences?
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, on the marketing side, we chose to do Fences first because we knew the movie was coming out, and we were like, oh, so people who don't know may recognize, even if they didn't go to see it, right? They would recognize it and be like, oh, that's happening in my town. Well, let's go here. But I think the larger, more important part for me is opening us up to what our width and breadth of artistic expression is, and I continue to tell all of my artists, I'm like, you guys, there's so much that you are not going to be taught in an academic setting, right? If you go to NYU right now for acting, they are not going to teach you the stuff that you would learn here, right? And it's not to poo-poo, NYU at all. It's just different, and it hits different, right? NYU is going to teach you about Stanislavski and Uta Hagen and all that. We are teaching you from the Black aesthetic. We are asking you to connect with ancestral knowledge and to use that as your impetus to create. Right? And that's completely different. And for a Black artist, it's game changing.
Yeah.
You know? So King Headley opens next week, and then directly following King Headley, from the 23rd to the 28th, we have a week-long symposium. I'm bringing 3 professional practitioners to town from all over the country, and we're going to have panel discussions, master classes. The one that everybody is going to love is Teresa Dalvest, our hometown girl.
Okay. Seaville folks doing good.
Right? She is currently the head of the communications department at Prairie View A&M in Houston. And she is a PhD candidate there. I mean, she's doing all the things. So she's coming back for the whole week. She's going to be part of some panel discussions, and she's teaching a master class on directing the Black theatrical voice. And then we have Justin Emeka, who up until about a year and a half ago was a professor at Oberlin College in theater and Africana studies. Justin's also an independent filmmaker and a director. He is a resident director at Pittsburgh Playhouse and has started his own directing career. He's teaching a master class called Shakespeare in the Black Aesthetic. Justin revamped Midsummer Night's Dream and performed it at Shakespeare in the Park in New York.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it's called Midsummer Night's Dream in Harlem.
I love it.
Right? Like, he is a master at taking Shakespeare and like just making it drip blackness, and it's beautiful to watch.
Was Shakespeare a person of color? Like, that's a rumor, you know.
That is a rumor. I don't know.
Okay.
And in some ways I don't care. I love Shakespeare. Like I've done a lot of Shakespeare. But my thing is that the thing I love about it is that you can overlay anything onto it. It is written so universally that you can mold it to whatever you want. And the revelation of putting blackness on it is just, it's the most gorgeous thing I've ever found. You know.
Yeah, and you know, that's why I mentioned that as well.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned that, because a lot of times we as a people don't do things that may be fruitful for us.
Oh yeah.
Like unless it's
because
cool.
We've never done it, so we're like,
you know what I mean?
And I understand that.
You know, like, or folks may be like, well, that's
right.
But I'm telling you, I've been, and if anyone else has been, like, they know that this is quality stuff, top tier.
Yeah.
Acting, writing, directing, all that good stuff. It's definitely support.
Yeah. So Justin's going to do a class on that, and at the end of the class, he's actually going to show his new film. He's got a 10-minute short that he filmed, and it is an adaptation of a scene from Richard III. So he's done, that he's updated to current times. So that's a treat because it's not out yet. Like, nobody has seen it yet.
Is that something like that you do a lot of, or interested in more of you know, adaptations of things that may have been seen traditionally one way, but saying, you know what, like, let's put a spin on that. Is that
absolutely
the heart point?
Yeah, that's what we have been doing for the past 6.5 years. Is because Wilson is known as the Black Shakespeare. That's why we've been doing so much Shakespeare. To make the point. And he's known as the Black Shakespeare because of how he uses language. He uses language in a lot of very similar ways to Shakespeare, in that it has a rhythm. It has a cadence. Yeah. And if you don't follow that rhythm or cadence, it kind of doesn't make sense. So that's why we chose to do Shakespeare in between the Wilsons.
Makes sense.
But, and then we have Dr. Tanya Pettiford-Waits.
Okay.
We call her Dr. T. Everybody calls her Dr. T. She is a professor of pedagogy at Virginia Commonwealth University.
Now, I think I know what that is, but go ahead and school me.
She basically teaches theater teachers.
Okay.
That's what she does.
Okay.
Which is amazing. And one of my mentors, I cannot express to you how wise and just amazing this woman is. She went to Carnegie Mellon undergrad. Her very first professional acting job was in the first touring company of For Colored Girls. She toured all over the US and in Europe with For Colored Girls. She's directed it 3 times and she's played every single part. Yeah.
Like on stage?
On stage.
Okay.
She's done TV shows, she's done movies. She talks about how she had this amazing undergrad education at Carnegie Mellon, like one of the top 10 universities in the country, right? But that education did not prepare her for her first job because she found out about this. She went to, do the audition. She gets the script and it looked nothing like anything she had ever encountered. And realized she was not prepared, that this education that she just paid all this money for didn't prepare her to do work that was based in who she was. So she had literally 24 hours to figure out how to work with this script that looked nothing like she'd ever seen.
Right.
Nailed it.
Right.
And then spent years just immersed in it. And then when she got to the point where she was teaching, she was like, I need to make sure that every Black artist that comes after me knows what I know, that they don't get blindsided by this the way I was, And so she is just a wealth of knowledge and so warm and inviting. And I just can't tell you how much I love this woman.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, so she's going to teach a master class on the Black actors approach, and I want to say that that actually she's the first master class that's going to be taught during the week. But I want to say to people that yes, it's called the Black actors approach, and yes, it's absolutely for theater people. But it's also for people if you have a job where you have to speak in front of people a lot. Come. You will get something out of it, right? You will understand how you are perceived and how you perceive an audience in a very different way. You don't have to be a theater person to get something out of these classes.
Well, that's a valuable lesson because most of us just go to it.
Right.
We make ourselves palatable.
Yes.
We fit in.
Yes.
But look, so I'm going to press into what you just now said a little bit because even still, you are Black. You are an actor. And so what does the Black actors approach mean to you, Leslie?
To me, that means, and this is what I learned from Dr. T, is that when I approach a role, when I approach a moment where I have to be in the public, I lean on my ancestral knowledge, right? I mean, Charles, you saw me sitting in the car before I came in the building, right? You know what I was doing?
Calling on the ancestors.
I was literally, I was sitting in the car asking my grandmothers, yo, sweeten my words this morning, okay? Make sure that I'm presenting myself in a way that is not palatable, but that is constructive to the people who are going to hear it, right? Make sure I am representing to myself in a way that you would be proud of me.
I think it requires, because I've heard a lot of different people but I've heard Black women, successful Black women, talk about code switching in their professional setting and what have you. And so I think, from my perspective, it requires a level of confidence in oneself or culture in order to be able to resist that.
Yes.
And not all of us have it. And how we develop it, or fall straight up.
And you know,
You have to come
break
to
up the sand in it.
yes.
You don't give me too much game for free, Max.
Well, you know, I'm just saying, like, so when I directed Gem of the Ocean, I had Dr. T come and present to my cast, like, and she was really funny. She asked me, she said, she's like, well, how far are you into rehearsal? I was like, we've done 2 read-throughs and that's it. Like, they are not memorized, nothing. I'm like, I need them to start with a foundation of realizing that their ancestral knowledge and working with ancestors is important, because that's what this show is about. It is all about ritual. It is all about connection with ancestors. It is all about knowing your history. Like, I need them to viscerally connect to that. And so she comes in and she does her thing, and everybody was amazed. And one of my actors comes up to me afterwards and he goes, I never knew that I could work this way. I was like, yeah, you can. Like, all this is in you.
Yeah, God given.
It's right.
Wow.
God given, ancestor given, like all this stuff, all of this ancestral knowledge is here. Why are you not drawing on it? Right?
Because the schools that you spoke of, like, sort of taught it out. Right?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you kind of go against your
absolutely
sort of innate thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Because you're told I got to do it this.
And you know, she did this wonderful thing with us. She actually created a ritual for us that we did during rehearsal, where we actually poured water. We did libation, right? We poured libation to our ancestors, and we chose ancestors to help us on the journey of creating these characters, of doing this show, right? And then every night we would do the same ritual, and we would pour libation, and we would ask those ancestors to help us. And just the act of doing that ritual every night and being cognizant that, right, I'm trying to reach that part of my ancestral knowledge. It changes how you move.
And so, in your own personal opinion, I'm asking questions for the sake of it, just unpacking it.
Yeah.
Is that the only way to get to that point?
It's not the only way, but it's a way that most people aren't taught to access. And specifically for Black people, it is much more profound, right? There's a thing when you're acting. There's a saying where you either work from the inside out or the outside in, right? And there are some actors that they're like, oh, I need my costume, or I need the set, or I need something from the outside in order to do what they need to do. And then there are actors that work from the inside out. They want to know, they want to dive deep into this character's life and do lots of research about, like, oh, especially if it's like a time period piece, it's like, oh, okay, well, in the 1900s in Pittsburgh, what did the streets look like? What was their day to day in order to get into their character? This is the epitome of working from the inside out, because you are literally relying on things that you inherently know. Things that you don't even know you know until you call on them. And then when you call on them, you're like, oh, I got that.
That's good.
And that can help. That's not just for an actor, that's for any Black person, right? That's good for you to know.
So Charles, before you walk up into UVA in the morning, I'm gonna need you to call up some people.
Sis, Only if you knew how much I did.
Right.
Much yeah, but
depending on the situation, I'm like, Granddaddy, I'm gonna need you to help me with this one.
sometimes you gotta remind them for the ancestors built this place, and they still out here.
Right.
Don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted.
So yeah, so Leslie, we are up against the hour, but appreciate you as always. But I want to make sure we didn't miss anything, though.
So I need to tell you about one more thing.
Yes.
So T. Ames, Rochelle Claiborne, and I are doing a concert on November 11th, and it is to benefit Charlottesville Players Guild. So it's a benefit, but we are singing, and this was Dr. Douglas's idea. She wanted to have a concert of all the women that we don't hear from anymore. You know, those divas that aren't played on the radio anymore.
Okay.
So T and Rochelle and I got together and made this amazing set list. So we got like Stephanie Mills, Heather Hadley. Oh yes, honey. And some amazing musicians behind us: Chris Red, Drew Pompano, Tucker Rogers. Like, it's going to be an amazing night of Black music. Yeah, so we each have our own like 20-minute set, and then we come together and do another like 30-minute set of like girl groups.
Okay. Dr. Douglas sing?
No.
Okay, I was about to say.
I
didn't know she had that skill. I was about to say.
You didn't know?
No, Dr. Douglas. No, you. I knew you sang, but I thought you said Dr. Douglas.
No. But the show was Dr. Douglas's idea.
Right. Okay.
You know, she comes in and she's like, I had an idea. Something y'all do. Basically, I had an idea. Now you gonna make it happen. Yes, ma'am.
So she's the manager of Dream Girls. Right?
Yes,
okay.
Absolutely. But it's called Songbirds and Divas.
November 11th, right?
Yes, November 11th, 8:00. Yeah, come by because it's gonna be an amazing night. So I'm doing all the old jazz stuff, right? So I'm the one that's doing Ella and Catherine Russell, and then Rochelle's doing the more updated stuff. So she's doing the Mickey Howard and T is doing the even more updated, the current R&B. So, and then we get together and we're doing some Climax and some Weather Girls and some SWV and some Brownstone.
Don't hurt me.
All the heavy hitters, that we're crying to hear.
Yes, indeed. So Leslie, definitely before you go though, whatever your last words, for the folks to come out and support and have a great time. But let them know how to reach you so they can become members, volunteer, intern, all that stuff.
Yes, we are always looking for volunteers. We are absolutely getting ready to start looking for interns. So, if you are a high school or a college student in the area, you might want to, keep an eye out on our website because we need a research intern and a marketing intern. So we're looking for it. We got some work for you. But yeah, you can always reach me. My email is publicprograms, all lowercase, all one word, at jeffschoolheritagecenter.org. And my number is 434-260-8722. I may not be able to answer all the time, but leave a message. I will return your call. I actually will talk.
Yes, indeed. Listen, thank you. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
I appreciate your realness.
It's always fun. Always fun coming out here with y'all.
Max, it's always refreshing when you have people. And I'm gonna say this before our next guests come up. People that don't bite their tongue and speak with some mind, because it makes our job easy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
We don't got to tug and pull information out of people.
Oh, you never have to pull anything out of me. Most of the time, you're like, oh, shut up.
It's all good. Man, you want to take us a break, Miss Max?
Yep, we enjoyed the company, seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. More conversation.
Support for this station today is coming from Martin Hardware.
Thank you. I didn't get to.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in the city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories. More people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay in line with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jamz from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jamz.
WHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jamz.
Yes. Back like we never left. Sir Charles, Miss Max. Told you just tell a friend, but don't go too far. So we are still on your airwaves. We are streaming worldwide right about now. IMHO Talk Show. We will bring it to you like always. To keep edutaining. And this next guest was one of my first guests. So I guess, Miss Max, we could take credit for all his success. You know what I mean? I'm over the past, how long have we been on this era, Miss Max? About 7 years now? About 7 years. So
I'm actually the first guest of this radio station.
Hey, give it up. That's what I'm saying.
I'm the openest guest of this station.
That's what I'm saying. You heard it here first. WVAI, when Jamz was number one.
You see, I just been around real quick.
He's trying to give us no credit.
Nah,
I was first.
Nah. Blame Wes.
Oh man, my brother, Dr. Wes Bellamy, man, good to see you, man. Thanks for joining us on this Sunday. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I appreciate y'all having me in. It's always good to be here with family. The honorable Max the woman of the house who controls not only the station but the city.
That's right. Literally.
Literally. There's a lot of good stuff going in the city, so I don't know about that. And always with you, my dear brother Charles, man. Love forever. And shout out to Razor as well. I know he's listening in. So, what up, bro?
Appreciate you, man. And you know, as we said, you know, a lot of folks, you know, follow you, know Dr. Wes Bellamy and the work that you do, but we're gonna get into it. You know, we want to catch up. Because one of the things that we truly appreciate is how, you know, no matter where you go, no matter what you do, since you've been in Charlottesville, you have definitely stayed and you consider this home.
No doubt.
You know
this
what I
is
mean?
home.
Yeah, for sure.
No place like home.
Yes, you definitely should be applauded for that, man. But
So your people back home don't say that.
Oh, they know. I mean,
I'm asking you.
I mean, well, let me say that there. So I was in South Carolina yesterday. Make sure I came back so I could be here on time. The record state for everybody listening. I was on time today. I know the joke is always late. But I mean, they know when people ask me where I'm from, I say Charlottesville. I mean, but there's a lot of folks back in Atlanta and back in South Carolina who often say, you know, we wish you would come back here and hear the same things. But I think God sends you to certain places for a reason, and this is just the seeds have been planted in other places, but this is kind of where the roots have grown and blossomed. And I just love being here, and I appreciate everybody for having me.
Like that, man. So what's been up, dude? What's been up?
Just
like,
running, man.
Yeah, you know, like when it comes to Dr. Wes Bellamy, you know, let's see like what's on the top of the agenda right now. You know, in all seriousness, you know, because there's so many directions we could go with this interview. But right now, 2023 fall, we almost, you know, have yet another year. What are the list of priorities for you guys?
I think the number one thing for me is taking care of my mental and physical health. Yes. And taking care of my babies. So, you know, that's at the top of the list, making sure that I'm both mentally and physically and spiritually where I need to be. Because if I'm not there, then I can't do any work. I'll say after that, it's kind of like what Stokely allows me to do. So Stokely just turned 4 last month, 4 going on 24. My little best friend, so she got this daddy's ring, and it's kind of like, well, she and I can work out together where we can compromise on the scheduling. But in all seriousness, the housing authority, man, I'm so excited, and I appreciate the city and everybody for having me and allowing me to now serve as the chair of the housing authority board. So we have some really good stuff coming up that we've been working on and continuing to do, while simultaneously serving as the chair of the political science department at Virginia State University. So we have homecoming this week. Okay. So, you know, really excited about the work that we're doing at Virginia State University, as well as the Jamz Institute. And been having some conversations with some of my friends from other places, gearing up in terms of Black Men Vote, and ensuring that our brothers, as well as our sisters, are getting out the vote for not only the upcoming election here in Virginia in November, but the national election next year. And then I would say, kind of in the background of all of that, just trying to be present as possible here in the community. I want to give a shout out to two of my younger guys, Zoe and KK. They've been putting together this quote unquote local knockout kind of thing, if you will. Yep, and I am so proud of our young people working together to be able to do something within our community that puts on an opportunity for our community to be able to, one, folks who have issues with each other to be able to resolve their issues in a very safe way. Yes, indeed. And then, you know, I saw 2 brothers last week, younger brothers who really have a lot of issues, who had a lot of issues with each other, put the gloves on, settle their differences in a very respectful way. And then before the fight, they were saying a lot of different stuff. And I'm telling them, yo, you're not gonna have that. But they walked to the side after their fight. They shook hands, they talked for 10, 15 minutes, and these young people put this together. So to me, I'm just so proud of Zoe and KK and everyone else for the work in which they're doing. And that's kind of, you know, those are the things at the top of my priority list, just being present in the community and trying to help out our folk, help our people as much as we can, and just try to balance each other.
Yes, indeed.
My bad, I said like 20.
No, you good. Now we gonna bust down the list. Let's get them.
All right. So look, we'll get back to people using alternative means to settle differences.
Yeah.
But while we on the subject of boxing,
Yeah.
wasn't you supposed to be in a fight here recently?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to the folks who were able to put that together. I think for a few different reasons it didn't work out.
Okay.
But I'm always proud of our community to be able to do different things and work together. We have two really great boxing gyms here in the city. Pro Rec, for many of you know, I started hype boxing back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken, down in Tonsil Park, and now it's elevated to pro boxing, which is over at Pro Rec. Shout out to my guy, Big Charles, and my man Jermaine, and then we also have Wartime Fitness, and shout out to George and everybody who puts that together. So, we have two really, really good boxing gyms for the kids here. Pro, if anybody wants to come over there, Monday through Friday, it's free for the kids. There's no charge, we cover everything. And I'm just glad that we have outlets for our community and for our young folks.
Yes, and boxing and folks see you working out a lot, running in the city.
Love my man Jose too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
shout out to Jose.
Yeah, and you're one of the starters of prolific as well. That's getting worldwide recognition.
Shout out to my man Will Littles. Yep. Ball Hawk. Yeah.
Doing great work. So I said that to lead back into that first priority, right? And you've always been about the community and the end goals of no matter what we're doing, who's doing it, it causing a lasting impact. And that's whether it's community work or that's being on council.
Yeah.
And so, like when you deal with the pressures of that, and then everybody knows, like public things like the T123, the old posts and all that stuff, people are at that. It's like, so you got these stresses and you got these pressures. And sometimes, brother, sometimes I would wonder and check,
all the time. Say, are you okay?
Yeah. Like, but on the surface, you always seem to handle it well. So brother to brother, and even for the sisters and all of our people listening, how did you do it? And how are you still doing managing that mental health?
So one, going to therapy, I'm consistent every other week. I'm in therapy. I think that this is kind of just what God made me to do. And the earlier that I just learned to accept this is my role, this is my calling, and kind of understood my purpose, the better off or easier things are for me. I don't really see things as pressure laden as I think from the outside looking in may seem. I think it seems like a lot, but it's not. It's not really like. I'm not like President Obama or anything. I'm not like trying to resolve the conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Right.
It's community work. So I think another thing that really helped me. I come from a neighborhood. Although Charlottesville is home, I come from a place in which there are a lot of very serious things going on, like life and death. I've seen a lot of close friends lose their lives. A lot of close friends and people I've looked up to have to become incarcerated. So one of the things that a cousin of mine, kind of like an older brother, said to me a few years back, really when all of this sort of stuff was going on, he said to me, West Beach, they call me West Beach, back home, like, we've been through all of this. I know you're not worrying about the politics.
There you go, respect.
Yeah, so that's like, he's like, I'm not going to talk about what we've been through, but we've been through a lot of different things. So in the grand scheme, like, this isn't, I've been through a lot more very serious situations. I mean, they're all serious. So in the grand scheme of things, God made me. I firmly believe God made me to help our community. And again, going to therapy, making sure that I'm running. Like when I go run and jog, it allows me to clear my mind. So I try to be disciplined in that regard. And then also just try to operate and do things for the right reason. Shout out to Boo and Ari from Tonsil League in our group chat. We always talk about, and I firmly believe this, if we do things for the right reasons, then they're always going to work out. As long as we're not operating selfishly, or if we're not operating with a lack of morality, or if we're not operating with just ill intentions or doing things for the wrong reasons, if we're just doing things because we know that we're supposed to do them, I firmly believe they're always going to work out. And then also me recognizing like I don't have to be in the front of everything. I don't have to lead everything. So I think my role is kind of more so of a starter. So like I get things started, get them off the ground, and just up for somebody else to lead.
You know, I really think it's in some ways humorous and odd to hear other people's perspective and how they interpret what may be going through any individual, and your display of maneuvering through all of that, just because you don't look like what you might be going through, or you're not walking around the head hanging down, or this or that, and in some ways, people might say that faking or you put it on, or they might say there's a variety of excuses for all of that. But in talking about the different things that you've experienced and how people respond to that, I just think sometimes it's mind blowing to hear how they think you ought to be responding in particular situations.
Yeah, I mean, that's for them. I spend time with my brother / barber, Will. Shout out to Will every week. I mean, we have our talks and we just decompress with each other. Like that to me is invaluable. I try and go jog, I try like 5 days a week, so that's a release. And then the rest of it is, I mean, I really take joy in seeing us do well. So when we do well, that really just makes me feel good, and it allows me to be able to keep going. I see the work that y'all are doing. It's so many like people doing such dope stuff here in Charlottesville, where a few years back, like that wasn't necessarily the case. So to me, like being here and the energy that's here, being able to go to the grocery store and see people and maybe buy some groceries, or people just say, "Hey, thank you, Wes," or it's often love, be around the youngins, as I like to call them. But they're young men because they're dangerous, and I like to show them respect. But being around them and they show a lot of appreciation and love. I mean, like what I got to complain about? Like,
so being somebody being so engulfed within the community and community work of, but honestly, like how much do you care about public perception of it? When I say that, not from just a naysayer standpoint, but when there's people in your own community that you could be doing good work with, but for whatever reason, they have a perception about you. Like how much of your time and energy do you put into trying to correct that? Or is that even important? Or you just say, I keep it moving?
Yeah, well, I think you have to be able to do both, because my ultimate goal, I think everyone knows this, is Black power above all. So with Black empowerment, my goal and my dream would be for all of us to work together collectively. And in my personal opinion, we do. Like the overwhelming majority of us, specifically here, we work together. Now, does every single person like get along or agree with everything I say, or I agree with everything that everybody else says? No, like because we're not a monolith, and we're not like it's human nature to disagree. So I don't allow for disagreements to weigh heavily on my mind and my heart. I hope that we can find ways for people in which I can't, like we don't necessarily work with consistently. I hope, and I feel like we usually do find ways in order for us to be able to work together. There are things in which we can't work together, and the things in which we can't, like that's okay as well. But I'm just saying, for me, like the overwhelming majority, like 95% of my interactions with people are extremely positive. It's very much so. Hey, thank you. We appreciate you. Wes, can you help with this? And then, if I can, we kind of work together and we do different things. If I can't, which often does, which happens as well. We can't. But the overwhelming majority of my interactions are positive. So, I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about quote unquote pixels or anything of that nature, because I think that's just human. And I think that it's okay for people to disagree. And like Wes also isn't always right. So there are things in which I'm wrong, There are times in which, I should have probably said or did something different. Like, I'm not above criticism, reproach. I'm not above, like, any of that. And that's okay. There could be times in which people just have different interpretations of things that have happened. And that's okay as well. But to me, as long as, like, what really matters the most outside of, like, my family and whatnot, like, if I can go in the food line or, I can go really, like, to GoCo, or, like, when the youngest call and I go over. Yeah, like, I'm saying, like, when I can go over there and people are usually like, yo, what's up? Or thank you. That's what matters the most to me. Like, you got to be able to be appreciated going your own block. Yeah. That's love.
So I am, Dr. Charles, interested to hear your advice on this next question as you've done your work.
I got rapid fire going
here locally, that a lot of different experiences have come along with that. Some in which have been threats against you, family, different things like that. And so recently, the Black community, I'm sure, is aware of other Black advocates in this community, specifically female advocates for social justice in this community, are experiencing similar things. Yeah. And so, as you hear about that, what's important for those individuals to know or understand in those types of situations, and maybe even some advice as to how you dealt with that?
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody. If we're talking specifics, are you talking about Zai?
Yeah.
Okay, so like,
yeah.
Well, I'll just say this. Like, I think for those who aren't aware, because I don't think everybody is fully aware in totality of what's going on. Zai, I'm with Brian, one of our dearest little sisters, advocates in the area. She's come under attack on social media from really a white girl. We just want to be very meeting. Obviously, we can't. There was a white girl who a few years back, they were leading a protest. Zai's friends from the university, if I'm not mistaken, other community members were leading a protest, and the white girl came up and she basically said that y'all would make good speed bumps. And Zai led a campaign, if you will, and kind of let UVA know that y'all shouldn't be graduated racist. So literally, the girl, she only had to. She had to apologize, and there was kind of like a letter on her file, and she was able to go on her life. Zai's been able to receive a lot of attention through her activism work and whatnot. She had a campaign with Dove, and with Dove, they, Zai's been talking a great deal about fat phobia, the need for supporting our people and others as well. And when the campaign came out, these people online basically just tried to like trash it. On social media. So when I found out about it, because again, I didn't know. When I found out about it, she and I had some conversations. And I wanted to know, first and foremost, that we support you. A lot of people saw the post that put up in terms of us supporting her. I can't go into like super specifics, but we had some friends and trusted confidants go and ensure that she was safe. They went by to make sure that she felt safe and kind of monitored in that regard. And I think in addition to that, sending words of encouragement. And it's important that again she feels supported. Specifics can always get tricky, but I think it's important that our people know most of all that they feel supported. And in addition to that, it's important for us to also recognize that there are a lot of us who are within our community who feel the need to be supported in a variety of different ways. So the question for me is trying to figure out how to balance the consistent request for support. And I think that I don't always get it right, but I try to work with our community for us to ensure that we can help as many people as possible feel safe. Like, and some folks will see like online threats in one regard. Some folks will see different things going on in the community, whether that be shootings or whatnot. But I think one thing as I said to me is, which is true, like we can walk and chew them simultaneously. Yeah. So we need to be able to wrap our arms around, her in her times of need, and be able to support the community and find intervention strategies to help our people feel safe. So, you know, those are learning opportunities for me and our community as a whole. And I'm glad that, one, she's safe. And secondly, I'm hoping that as many people in our community as a whole can also feel safe, which is going back to the earlier points. I'm so glad to see our young folks taking steps to be able to create intervention strategies. And I'm just glad to play like a little small role in that. It's a long answer.
No, you good, brother. So Max, but you know, a message I heard this morning was talking about unity versus uniform.
Right.
Like, and we can have unity without uniform. We don't need uniform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With like the commentary that I'm hearing in a lot of this is just that. It's like we're not a monolith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we act different ways. We disagree on some stuff. Like what's our end goal? You know what I mean? And Razor has something for you too. And we'll go to break when we come back though. After Max and Razor's last stuff, we'll dig more into like the politics of the election and how it's you know.
I'm here. Y'all got me. So I'm here.
I just want to say, as we wrap up that question that you just responded to, for Zai, you know, that discussion was held with the utmost respect, and I asked because I care. So.
Yeah.
So let me.
So I want her to know too, like, you know, we all care. You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, I want to be very clear. Zai, Tanisha, Kaya, the sisters, the brothers, like our community as a whole, there's nothing that could ever happen that would make us not care.
Absolutely.
And we don't have to agree on everything 100% of the time for us to still value and love you. And that doesn't also mean that we also aren't still growing and evolving and learning from each other. As Charles alluded to, the end goal is what's most important. And the end goal for me is Black empowerment.
Yeah.
Now, how that looks will be different because we're going to take different paths. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's Black empowerment above all. It's all love.
Yeah. And you know, when it comes to the perception, one of the things that a lot of people can't deal with is there's a level of strength, like there's a level of dog, so to speak, in people who really get ish done. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like so some people can't handle it. Yeah, you build it. So like when you're a natural born leader and you have that fire in you, like not everybody can handle it. You know what I mean?
Sometimes you can't handle it.
That's right. That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I guess we maybe can go into that after the break, but yeah, it's real.
So I did want to say that my sister Zayana is listening for sure. You know, so definitely appreciate her. I did share online, but since Wes can't see it, she said it's a both, and our activists shouldn't feel like they have to be a martyr or sacrifice their life for others when they always put everything on the line for others around. Don't dismiss the white supremacist violence that Black activists face just because there is gun violence happening. We should be able to work on both issues.
Yeah, like you said, we can walk and chew gum simultaneously.
Yeah. And so, Razor, did you still have something for us before we go to break? And we'll come back and talk about housing in this upcoming election. What's up, Razor?
Absolutely. What's up, baby?
What's going on? Can't even hear you real low. Is that me? That may be me. Go ahead. Keep going, Razor.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, keep talking.
All right. Hey, Wes, first off, I want to say congratulations. I'm proud of your growth.
Love, my brother.
And secondly, I want to ask you something. How do you invest in your children? Because it can't be easy for them to be the children of Dr. Wes Bellamy. I know how difficult it is for my children, and I'm just a local public figure. So what is it that you put in your children to let them know that it's going to be okay?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, for one, a reminder at all times that I'm your father first.
Tell them.
Before anything else, I'm your father first. And simultaneously, we have an obligation to empower our people. So I think my baby girl probably gets it the most, more than the others, because it's just been instilled in her since day one that we have an obligation to help our people. And that means we. It doesn't mean just dad. That means we have to collectively be able to be engaged with our people. Mm-hmm. So that means that they didn't have to understand that because we have an obligation to help our people, that there will be things in which may not be comfortable for you or even comfortable for dad There's going to be sacrifices that we collectively have to make because we value and love our people. And then ultimately, this is Dad's purpose. Like, this is Dad's calling. So I want you to understand that my calling and my purpose is mine, and you're going to have to develop and find yours. But because this is mine, you all are going to go along on this journey with me. And there will be times in which you may not be comfortable, but I'll try to make it to have as many. The times in which that we have to ourselves are more than the times in which you have to have away from me. So, like, for example, my oldest daughter, Michaela, down in Charlotte, to me it's kind of mandatory. I'm there every 10 days, and when I'm there, I'm at the cheerleading games, and we go to dinner together. That's mandatory. Every morning we have our prayer devotion together.
Nice.
That's mandatory. That's at 6 a.m. We do it together. Every night we have our check-in. So that's being present in that regard. Stokely just with me all the time anyway. So Stokely, you see her walking around saying power to the people, in her own right. So, she gets it. And Layla. So, as I evolve as a person, as a parent, as a man, as a human, I'm hoping that I'm making the best decisions, but I recognize also that there are times in which I don't pick them up, like as in life. Yeah, so there has to be a level of grace that I extend to myself, but also a level of accountability that I have to provide myself as well and say, hey, you got to get this done, and these are the priorities. So it's about balancing and making sure the schedule is as tight as it can be, and just go.
Appreciate that. Like, that's deep on so many levels. That's not just an active schedule. That's for the parent. Like you may have a job that pulls them away all the time, or whatever the case is. Like, that's a good lesson.
Yeah. I mean, and extending grace to ourselves because we're humans. Like, everybody is a human, including your children. They too are human. So, the more in which we can remind ourselves to breathe, the more in which we can remind ourselves that we can handle this, the more in which we can communicate effectively to figure out solutions that work for us in a particular season, because those solutions will have to change and they will have to evolve over time because people are going to evolve, the better off we can be. And you don't have to be perfect. Like, we don't need perfect parents. We don't need perfect politicians. We don't need perfect people because none of us are perfect. So let's just navigate these waters the best in which we can.
Love it, right? All right, let's take a quick break and let's get back to towns.
I'm glad you asked that about like
HO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jamz.
Yeah. I am HO Talk Show. Don't worry, we'll get back to it, Miss Max. You know, you got plenty of time to shake your tail phone. You still got over an hour to shake your tail phone.
Good Lord, I ain't heard that in a minute.
Yes, indeed. But our family, we are still here with none other than Dr. Wes Bellamy, homeboy, Seaville's own. You hear that, Georgia and South Carolina? Seaville's own. But yeah, so Wes, man, so we coming up on an election coming up here soon, and like something that you talk about a lot, and you and I have discussions about is like the state of Black America, the state of Black Charlottesville. Like our People's Party, right? Like so what would you communicate to the public when it comes to the local elections coming up, state and what have you? In your opinion, should be most important. Decide what it has.
Yeah, I think there's two things on which we have to be paying attention to Congress. The first one is that we have local elections that will have real implications on our people taking place right here in both Charlottesville, Albemarle, and surrounding areas. There's city council elections, board supervisors, House delegate seats, Senate seats. All elections that are need our participation, our civic participation and engagement, if you will. However, it's also important to understand that voting is just one aspect of the political process. So, I'm sorry for that, the school board races, city council as well. But voting is really just the first part or the first leg in the marathon. Like if you're running a race that's 26 miles, like voting, getting registered to vote is probably the first mile, and then voting is probably what you do in the third mile. Everything that you do after that is going to take place, kind of represent the remaining 23 miles of the race.
Gotcha.
So it's important for us to be engaged in terms of attending city council meetings. I'm encouraging all of our people to sign up for board and commissioner meetings. There's a litany of boards that you can actually holler at Max. There's a litany of boards that are open for us to have representation on the city. But also we have to start infiltrating Albemarle County, Orange County, Urbana, Greene, their boards and their commissions. Like we cannot put all of the emphasis on what we do and how we serve and what's taking place in the area just in the city. There is a major deficit of Black representation in places outside of the city of Charlottesville. We have to pay not only attention, but become engaged in these boards and commissions. I don't know how else to say it. I don't really know, what else what other ways to communicate it outside of, it's not just up to 5 or 6 people to be the representation for our entire community and or region when it comes to the political front.
Right.
Like we all are impacted and affected by it, which means that we all have to be engaged in it. So that would be the first thing. The second thing, what would I say in terms of people about kind of the state of the city of Charlottesville or Albemarle County? I think that we're in a good space. Like I really do firmly believe that we've seen an influx of voices arise. And we've seen an influx of different people with different ideologies do different work. So whether that means that, we have the Black Parent Alliance, I know I'm maybe butchering the name, representing kind of the students and the parents in the city and the county. We have, some really good work going on in the Housing Authority Board, not only with home ownership, but public housing redevelopment as a whole. We see some of the work that's taking place with folks doing things like with New Hill. Shout out to Quentin and Yolanda. We see a wide variety of people not only doing things, but also speaking up as well. Like shout out to everybody who's been so vocal about what's transpired over at 10th and Page and pushing back against the dairy market kind of fiasco, if you will. Shout out to my sister, Ebony Bug, over at the Community Area Foundation, CACF, making sure that we have resources going into our community. So when I just as one person, when I think back to 10 years ago, 2023, we didn't have nearly as many of these voices being present. Damn sure didn't have this many people at the table. And to see where we are now, where the work isn't just falling on a handful of people, I'm really proud. Now, do we have work to do? Hell yeah. We got to get a grip on gun violence. We have to be able to consistently find economic resolve for our people. I'm encouraging anybody. When I was in office, me and Kyle were in office, we started something called the Business Equity Fund, which is still in existence. You can get up to $30,000 at a 1% interest rate by partnering with CIC, going through their program. It's for socially disadvantaged individuals, aka Black folk. Yeah. So you can go get those resources if you want to start your business, scale up your business. Housing Authority is doing a lot of great work. PHA is doing a lot of great work. Shout out to the redevelopment over in Garrett. And then we're trying to find housing resolutions across the city as a whole, across the county as a whole. So it's work.
Put a pin in that right there. So what are your thoughts on the issues that the city is currently dealing with in terms of homelessness?
Yeah.
And again, a recurring issue is police community engagement or relationship.
Yeah, so let's go with homelessness first. So if we go back 8 years, it's 2023. If we go back to 2015 or 7 years to 2016, when we first had that press conference at what was then known as Lee Park about getting the statue removed, if you would have said to me, well, 8 years later, this would be a place in 2023 where people are essentially, or 7 years later, people are just here and they're camped out, I wouldn't say that that's a bad thing. In many ways, I would say that that's a win. I think here's the part in terms of homelessness that persons or people within the community don't necessarily understand in its totality. One, many of these individuals are choosing to be homeless. There are currently 6 open spaces at the Salvation Army in which people could go and occupy the beds. Now, the Salvation Army, they have a set of rules in which everyone has to abide by, but many of the persons who are currently we find homeless, they would prefer to live on the street. I think that while that may not be ideal, that is a choice in which they are choosing to make. And we should not persecute or prosecute people nor condemn them for choosing to make, for deciding to make that choice. The city manager, Brother Sam Sanders, who I'm very fond of, I think is in a very difficult position in which we collectively, now I'm talking to Black folk, we collectively, Black folk need to be able to support him because he has a great deal of individuals who may not identify with different struggles, who are currently pressuring him to find a resolution to something that can't be fixed overnight. Homelessness in Charlottesville didn't start yesterday or last year. It's been a consistent issue. We tried to address it with the crossings. There are some discussions that I'm not privy to discuss or put out in totality, but there are other housing mechanisms that we're trying to bring forth to be able to address homelessness as well. It won't be done next week, next month, or even next year. It takes time to address it. So again, these complex problems, they don't have simple resolutions. And to go to your point in regards to the police and community engagement.
Hey, so before you go there though, I had a question for you. Like, so what would be your rebuttal to the constituents, the voting citizens who say, whether we're talking about public housing, which we'll go to next, after your next comment, public housing, or we're talking about the unhoused. It's a drain on the system. It takes tax dollars.
Like, do we?
So even if it's somebody's choice.
You
know, like there are people that be like,
I don't think people understand a city or municipality's budget as a whole, and that's okay. Like, we have to do a better job of educating our communities as a whole
in terms of how a budget works. I'm willing to bet that the unhoused probably take less than 1.5% to 2% of the city's total budget.
Okay.
So when we look at, if people want to say that the unhoused are a drain on the systems, then I'm willing to bet that we could circle in on a lot of different budget amenities within our city budget and the county budget, in which we can see that there are different resources that we could allocate to address a wide variety of different issues. The other part that I would say is that these are still human beings.
Right.
A human being needing assistance for whatever reason is not a drain on our structure. These are humans. Like these aren't inanimate objects. This isn't this Gatorade bottle. These are real people with maybe mental health issues, with substance abuse issues, with these systems that have been in place and have plagued them for a long time, that have made them make different decisions. And damn, is it so messed up that a locality says that, well, it may not be ideal, but we're still going to try to figure out how to help them.
Yeah.
Like, have we become so callous? Yeah. And have we become so just like, well, whatever, because it's an eyesore that we can't take care of people who, quote unquote, others may deem to be the least of these. And then furthermore, if we're going to be 100, a lot of these folks who are talking trash about the unhoused proclaim to be Christian. And this is absolutely against everything that Jesus said that we should go out and do.
Yeah.
So you can't, like it's completely mind-boggling to me that some individuals are so upset by the unhoused and they're camped out in a park in which, if we can find a way to maintain that it's safe and that people are not hurting themselves or each other, and this is where they choose to be, if that's the worst problem that we have in our community, then I would say that we're in a good space.
You know, something else that comes up in that conversation is that, yes, I have to be in agreement with you that people are choosing to be unhoused. They would just prefer that. Yeah. But the other end of that is that a percentage of those people are choosing to be unhoused because of some of the issues that you just spoke of, substance abuse, different things like that, which rolls over into institutional problem with that we're facing here with institutionally, or just social constructs and different things like that. In which case, the funds that it takes to resolve those type of issues, to prevent homelessness altogether, becomes a much bigger beast to look at.
Yeah, the funds that it takes may grow, but it's still a very, very, very small percentage of our budget. Like very, very, very small percentage of our budget. Furthermore, like, again, I think that there has to be some compassion, empathy, and accountability. So, like, there are things that we would want the unhoused to do, but I just ask folks, whatever happened to grace? Like, whatever happened to showing people grace?
So you sounded very democratic, though, because, of course, I'm kind of being devil's advocate. Like,
ain't no devil.
You're right.
Go ahead.
But to your point, like when you said, like have we gone that far in society with that? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yes, like we have gone that far off of compassion.
Yeah, and see, so for me, then you like that's problematic. And again, I think that these are complex issues that don't have simplistic resolutions that you're going to find overnight. Furthermore, I think that also leads into some of the things in which we see with law enforcement. And shout out to Chief K, shout out to Chief Caucus, who I've grown to develop a very strong relationship with, who I would say him and his department as a whole, like they're working diligently. We just spent an hour or so playing football and kicking it in West Haven on Tuesday. He'll go anywhere. I mean, he lives in the community. I don't think any person is perfect. So yeah, if you want to find something to have an issue with Chief K about, then okay. The same way that we can all find an issue with each other, because again, nobody does everything perfect 100% of the times. Right. But I appreciate his commitment to being willing to engage, and if he messes up, be willing to say, "Yo, you know what? I may have got that wrong. Yo, how can we figure out how we do this better?" And this requires all of us collectively to be able to say, like, "Yo, we're not enemies. Like, this isn't real life cops and robbers. Like, this isn't a TV show. This is real life. And we have to figure out how we can live in this community together. And I think that it's important that when there are issues that arise in which we see things that don't go the way in which it's supposed to, we can speak up and hold persons accountable. I don't care who it is, myself included. We can hold people accountable, but then we can also be willing to show a level of grace to say that I'm willing to be able to work with you to find how we can be able to coexist. And then furthermore, like, the police have to be able to do that, and the community has to be able to do that. And I'm more interested from where I am right now into figuring out how we bring these different entities together. That's my role right now. That's my role. Other people may have different roles, but my role right now, as I see myself, with the relationships that I have, is to figure out how we can be on the same page.
Yeah. So,
Dr. Bellamy.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Razor, real quick. So what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna hit the top of this hour, but if you got a few more minutes, we're gonna come right back over, Razor.
I'm here.
And because we definitely got to close more in depth about your new role with CRHA.
Okay, cool.
So I am HO. Don't go anywhere. Literally, be right back. We gotta pay them bills.
Studio in Charlottesville. Turn it up. It's WVAI LP 1013. local businesses that support this station.
Hold on, wait.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Back like we never left with none other than Dr. Wes Bellamy. And so glad he can hang out with us just a little while longer because we want to make sure that we finish up this rich conversation. So important. So, Razor, if you're still there, I know you had something, but Razor, while we waiting on you, I just wanted to say, Wes, too, like sometimes, I appreciate you, and I even got a shout out to all my sisters like Zion, Nakaya, Tanisha as well, because sometimes you got to have folks who are willing to make people uncomfortable, and sometimes folks are sacrificial in many ways, so to speak, because some folks who may be a little more soft-spoken or whatnot, just like wait until the right time. Mm-hmm. But in order to get things done, sometimes, no matter, it's going to create some enemies and whatnot, but we need that kind of firepower as well. You know what I mean? Like you said, like we all play a part, right? We all have different styles and what have you. So definitely appreciate that.
All love.
That's needed.
All love. I mean, I appreciate one, you saying that. And again, for me, I think the overarching theme of this is that we, again, from my personal estimation, like we get along. Like everybody, I mean, nobody is supposed to get along 100% of the time at all times. But to me, I think within our African-American community, if you ever were to call it such, locally, there's a whole lot of collaboration, consistent collaboration in which people work together, man. Like I'm so proud of Jamar, Pierre, Robert Gray, Uhuru Foundation, Daniel Fairley, Fernando from Fur Cuts, the 100 Cuts Initiative, Derek Brown, like to see these different barbershops working together to ensure that our folk and our young folk get haircuts, back to school supplies, shout out to Denise Johnson. Like, man, there's so much collaboration and working together. Again, this is just from my vantage point, that there's no time at all to be tripping off of what's not happening or what we disagree about, because there's so much more that we do agree on. And to be honest, like if there is something that someone is doing or isn't doing or something that you don't agree with, there's nothing wrong with you going and starting your own thing. Like, we had the 100 Black Men. I felt as if there was kind of some different things in which we should do. So we started Hype. We started the boxing club, and it's still going. Like, and there's nothing wrong with having both. We got Black Professional Network, that we started together, and you still running that. Like, there's a lot of stuff that which we're doing together. So it's all love for me.
Yeah, that's spot on, man. That's spot on. Because the other thing too is like even when one caveat to what you were saying, when one organization may be missing a piece of it, then to your point, we shouldn't then try to tear it down, because y'all ain't doing this one thing. Yeah. Like, it'd be so easy for us, okay, if we ain't doing it, then that means we may not have the capacity, but we will support you in it.
Yeah, you go do it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love what Robert Gray and them are doing with the Uhuru Foundation in terms of just filling a void of ensuring that, and Derek Rush as well, of filling a void in terms of community work with maybe, a disenfranchised population. And then, I mean, you can't talk about young folk in this community without talking about my man Bud. Like, shout out to Nick Fagans. Like, he does a ton in the community. So again, like there are so many people in which we can look to consistently who are doing phenomenal things, and we do this work together. So, that is much more my focus and where my energy is than what's not happening.
Yeah. Thank you, man. Razor. What you got for Doc? You there, Razor? I heard him a second ago. All right.
Bro. Okay.
So while we waiting on him, I'm pretty sure I got his line on here. We should be able to hear him. I heard him a minute ago. But we're waiting on Razor to come on. And you can text us a question too, Razor, if we have an audio issue. But Wes, make sure that we want to get into your new role as chair of CRHA.
Yeah.
And
we in here, Housing Authority.
Yeah. So, so I have a particular question, sure. Definitely when it comes to, Charlottesville, the city and the land and development and whatnot. Mm-hmm. But go ahead and break down to folks what that organization's mission is, and so they know what it means for you to be the chair.
Yeah, so the Housing Authority, Charlottesville Redevelopment and Housing Authority, is essentially the arm that not only handles public housing within our community in Charlottesville. We have a wide variety of different public housing sites, some of which many folks have heard of, whether that's West Haven, South First Street, Madison Avenue, Mickey Drive, Riverside, and so forth. We are responsible, in my personal estimation, of serving as an arm to allow folks to not only remain housed, but also improve their livelihood and taking the next step, specifically revolving around how you are housed. So, we have an incredible director, John Sales, man, who has done absolutely phenomenal work. And for me, like the biggest thing in which I'm the most proud of as one person with the Housing Authority is that I remember when I was on City Council, when I first got on in 2016, Delegate David Toscano said to me one day, like, you really think that, redevelopment is going to happen, Wes? We've been working on this since 1991 when I was mayor. And I was born in 1986. So I'm like, well, y'all been working on this for 20 something years and it didn't happen? Yeah. Nah, something wrong. We're going to make sure that we make this happen. And, you look 7 years later, we have broken ground and you see families moving into the new development on South First Street, which is absolutely beautiful. We've reconstructed and built on Crescent Halls, which, we're still finalizing the last 3 floors, but persons and individuals are back in there. We're getting our plans together for West Haven. So like we've already embarked on this process of public housing redevelopment and actually getting families in newer situations in addition to home ownership. So we're have our new home ownership program where some families are working towards actually being able to own their home. And some folks not just living in public housing, but living with our voucher system, living in different places. So we're in a much better space, and we got some work to do. Yeah. No doubt, we have some improvement to make, but we're definitely going to make it. And this isn't a one-person job, so we're all in this together. We're looking forward to people consistently coming to help us. I guess I'm making an announcement now. Mm-hmm. We're about to embark on a $200,000 campaign to renovate the basketball court at West Haven. Okay. So if anybody wants to help us support that in any regard, we need your support. UVA, hint, hint. Y'all just got an $80 million new football facility. All we need is $200,000, in which a lot of your students already come and play on that court as it is. Yeah. Any of these philanthropic organizations or people who are complaining about what's not going on, we could use your support there. So we got some work to do, but again, rest assured, we're going to get it done.
Yeah. So I need you to justify it. $200,000.
No doubt.
I mean, some homeless people that could use that money.
No doubt.
Programs that could use that money. So
it's important for our young folk, one, who live in that community, as well as our members of public housing and our low-income communities as a whole, have a safe outlet to go and not only play basketball, but utilize that space. Our communities deserve to have nice things. Like, because you live in public housing does not mean that you do not deserve to have a nice basketball court for recreation like these other communities have. So I don't want to hear anybody, and I mean, you have the right to say whatever you want, but for me, I find it troubling, not saying that's what you're saying, Max, I'm saying in general, I find it troubling for when we say that we need to do something for our low-income community, there's often pushback about how other segments and populations of the community also need things. The city had what kind of surplus this year, Max? Yeah,
man, you can't put her on the spot.
Good answer. We had a nice surplus, right? We had a good answer. In Albemarle County, there too are an abundance of resources. So again, we see people make decisions and choices about what they want to donate and give their resources to. And what I'm suggesting is that we also provide resources for this segment and population of the community. As we alluded to earlier, it doesn't mean we can't walk and chew gum simultaneously. We have the ability to be able to do a multitude of things. But what I'm saying also is that we are not going to forget our communities that also need our assistance. In addition to, like, what quote unquote some may see as a recreational event, like a basketball court, we also have a family youth and support services program, an initiative in which we're trying to provide health and mental health counselors to people who live in public housing, provide financial analysis and resource providers for folks who live there, because there's this misconception that people think just because you're low income or poor that you mismanage your money. But my mom will tell you that oftentimes people who have the least amount of resources are the best budgeters because they have the least to operate with. So you literally trying to rub 3 nickels together to make $1. And you got to make those 3 nickels stretch.
Yeah.
So, there's this misconception there that, again, we're trying to do a lot of different things that we need people support on. Shout out to FAR as well, the Public Housing Association of Residents.
We had sunshine not too long ago.
Yeah,
there you go, Max.
Yeah.
See?
You pull it out.
I mean, I told you I missed you. I told you. But I'll take you the picture. You tell them, say your athletes come down here and play. So if you don't want them twisting their ankle in a crack, you better help us renovate this bad boy.
You step on the crack, break your mama's back, all that good stuff. Come on and help us out.
Yeah, so bro, so again, before we let you go, I want to definitely dig a little deeper into what we've been facing recently. Like when it comes to the housing and whatnot, because while I'm glad to hear you say what you said about the new initiatives and programs that you have that traditionally
we have. It ain't Wes's program.
Yeah, that's right. That you all have.
Right.
Traditionally, haven't been associated, to when it comes to public housing and low-income housing per se. Like when it comes to more like upward mobility piece of it. So that transition, like that segue is what I really want to focus on, because it's also like how you said how there's some folks, in said neighborhoods who also are the best budgeters, right?
Yeah.
But then there's also folks as well, like in every neighborhood, that also needs a little more financial literacy, right? So, but the big thing when it comes to the housing right now, let me preface it by saying this: Charlottesville ain't got no more land. Like people forget about that, right?
We're landlocked.
We're landlocked. So you're gonna build up, or unfortunately, you're gonna push people out. Or how do we fight that?
Yeah, well, I think there's a multitude of different ways. One, you can look at increasing density and building up, which is okay in some regards. I think we can be creative in terms of how we acquire different current residential entities. So shout out to, again, John Sells, Housing Authority Board. We purchased a multitude of properties from the OG Eugene Williams and Dogwood properties. And now we've renovated some of them, making those housing structures a little more amenable for people to live in and bring some of our families there. But also, again, this is going to require public and private partnerships. It's really easy to blame the people who you see for not doing something, opposed to doing the deep dive and to find out those who may be behind the scenes that are being very reluctant to help us have upward mobility. A lot of those people, I'm going to say here, are in Albemarle County. Now, I'm not here to put the city against the county, but I am damn sure here to say that the city is punching as hard as we can, and the county is not pulling their weight. There's no other way for us to describe the lack of collaboration when it comes to affordable housing in the region than what we see the county not doing. Now, does this mean it's just Albemarle County local government as a whole? No. That also means the developers who purchase a multitude of different land, and then they only want to sell it at market value in the county, and will refuse to accept housing vouchers, people from both the city and the county to live in certain places. Those persons need to be held accountable. Another slick way in which people are detriments to affordable housing is we see realtors who they talk about. I mean, I got a couple cats who I just got into it with it. Being candid, got into it with them online. Like, yo, y'all around here popping. I'm not gonna say the word, but y'all out here popping stuff about how you just bought your 8th or your 9th house in the last 2 years, and you're flipping them and you're selling them at market rate. But those are also units that the housing authorities are trying to purchase so that we could put families into them, but we can't get them because you guys are using these backdoor deals to purchase these homes before they even come on the market, and then you're selling them at market rate. And that also is leading to some of the affordable housing, unfortunate instances that we see. Yeah. There's some other words that I'm really trying not to use because it makes me a little upset. So again, like we collaboratively have to, one, be able to pay attention to what people are doing, but also collaboratively work to resolve these problems. And they're hard. It's not as sexy as us going out and saying ski yee and going out and having some fun. Like, I get it. It's not as sexy as us just coming or just kicking it at Tonsler and during the games and having a great time. I lead the Tonsler League. Y'all know how much I love that. Yeah. But We also have to be able to address these systemic issues that are having real life implications on our day-to-day lives, and we cannot do this alone. So as much fun as we have with having parties, like shout out to everybody. I hope y'all come to the Sneaker Gala November 18th. It's going to be downtown at the Vault. It's going to be dope. I know the Cabaret is coming up. Shout out to Tanisha and everybody that's doing that. As much as we'd like to have fun, we also have to pay attention to what's going on around us, opposed to just complaining about they ain't gonna let us do this, or them people are doing A, B, and C, or we're being pushed out. No, hell no. Let's fight to stay in. And furthermore, let's work together and get some of these spaces that may not be in the city, but they may be in the county, so that we can house our people. Like, there's nothing wrong with us doing that.
Is there anything more? I guess I'm just asking for specifics because clearly there's more, but is there anything?
Yeah, I'm fired up. Let's go.
Is there anything more that our policymakers within the city can do to help minimize the affordable housing disparity?
Like what?
I'm asking you. You're the expert.
Yeah, I think, I'm a person with ideas. I'm the expert. Is there anything more that the city as a whole, when you say city council, housing authority, policymakers as a whole, that we could be doing to increase affordable housing? Yeah, of course. There's always more that we can do. We see the zoning, and I would encourage everybody to go look at the new zoning plan, the proposal, in terms of how that'll be changed. The old zoning plan is literally written and rooted in racism, which is kind of part of why we see such a lack of affordable housing, not just in Charlottesville, but across the country. A little bit of homework, everybody. I'm putting my department chair hat on now. A little bit of homework, everybody go look up what R1, R2, R3, R4 means and how those historically came about. So yeah, changing the zoning, allowing for us to be able to build up, so increasing density, also removing the ability for developers to pay into what's known as the quote-unquote POFR, opposed to providing affordable housing units. So just very briefly, for those that may sound like German, if you will, what's transpired before is that developers will say, well, yo, I want to build this, hold up, wait, my bad. Okay, I'll say it slower because they on my top. All right, I get it. That means wrap it up. Yo, that's the sign. Wrap this stuff up, baby. So what we've seen before is developers will subsequently come in and say, I want to build this 50-unit structure. And the city will say, well, 10 of those units got to be affordable housing at 60% AMI to allow people to actually be able to afford them, not just the richest people. And they will say, well, I tried to do it, but the construction costs are so much. What I'm actually going to do is just pay $250,000 into this affordable housing pot. And we call that a POFR. And instead of them actually building the units, they'll put the money in the pot. And in the city, you have to figure out, how we do A, B, or C. No, we need to say we're decreasing that. Ain't no more putting the money in the POFR. Actually put the unit in, period. If you got to put in 10 affordable housing units, put in 10 affordable housing units. But that's still only 10. So again, this means that there has to be collaboration with outside entities. I know UVA is trying to do some affordable housing stuff now. That's, kudos to them. They got to do a lot more. So holding them accountable. And again, you say, what can the city do? Hold Albemarle County and these other people who drain our resources by coming into town all the time, hold their localities and jurisdictions accountable for working collaboratively with us to build affordable housing.
Like the annex fee, right?
Like the annex fee, we get around 12 to 17. The city gets between 12 and 17 million dollars a year because all that area up by Forest Lakes that was actually a part of the city. So now the county has it. They have to pay us for using it. A lot of folks get mad about it, but we then in turn use that money to be able to address some of these social ills that we have here. And we could talk about the unhoused, but Charlottesville is a city of 50,000 people. We have to service nearly 250,000 people. Everybody comes here, not only for the hospital, but because we have the grocery stores, we have the downtown mall, we have the amenities that other people don't have. Like, this is town. Y'all know it. I'm about to go to town. We going in town. So we have to be able to, it's country talk. I didn't get it till I, started really becoming a Charlottesvillian when people say town. I'm like in the city of the town. Anyway, so we have to be able to service these people, which means we need resources, which means that, it's complex. Like, they're not simple solutions, but you know how we can get to a better place? Us working together and being engaged.
And you know what you're saying, though, a lot of that is still the old money against the new money. The old money has the money because they don't allow the new money.
No
You know
doubt.
what I mean?
No doubt.
Like, and you also made me, so that's that's part of the ongoing fight, of course, to convince that. But the other part you made me think of is I remember how heavy Kanye was pushing his mayor to make it mandatory for the developers to have the affordable lots or
the house, the units, they gotta have them.
But it's but it's like from a business standpoint, they always want to throw that at you, like how much it would cost them. Like
I can't make money.
Yeah, like so how can that be made mandatory? Because that seems to be a huge sticking point of making it of a jurisdiction, the zoning, what have you, making it mandatory for developers to do. And then the other end piece of that, and this is my last piece as we get ready to wrap up. But remember that part. But then the other part is that divide of like what low income means. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times I feel like those of us that are Black, that may be able to afford certain spaces, we got to be unified as a community to know, all right, if they get a foot in the door, they're then going to create more opportunities. They're going to create a safe space for me to get in the door and not it be, okay, well, if you're talking middle class and you ain't talking Black issues, there's plenty of Black middle class as well. So those kind of two pieces on how we force developers' hands and how we how we unify versus low income, middle income.
Let's address the second one first. So one, a lot of that is classism.
Yeah.
And classism is based and rooted in white supremacy.
Yeah.
From literally the first onset, you can look it up, like from 1619 when Black folk first came here, and then the 20 some odd Negroes, and then the first free Black family, the Taylors, in the late 1620s, and then moving up into the 1650 when literally there was policy written in the Commonwealth of Virginia to allow Black folk to no longer be able to be free based on the status of the quote unquote father of the enslaved person. There's been very deliberate ways in which we have been systematically pit against each other, whether that be by how much money you make, whether that be whether you're free or not, whether that be whether or not you're educated, a wide variety of different things. So to your point, Charles, we have to be able to, yes, understand that regardless of whether you make $100,000, $200,000, $50,000, $10,000, you're Black. And we are fighting an uphill battle in terms of empowerment of our people politically, socially, and economically. Now, with that being said, Black is also not a monolithic group. So we are allowed to live in different spaces, have different ideologies about how we move forward, and interact with each other differently. We just have a responsibility and an obligation to not do harm towards each other. And ultimately, that's where we have to be. So to your question in terms of how do we address the housing perspective from classism, whether or from a class perspective, middle class, because there are Black folk who can afford different housing structures, that is okay. And then there's some Black folk, because of what's transpired here in our city, who need our housing assistance. My response is that in this pie, all of us need to be fighting for each other. What does that mean, Wes? How do we fight for each other? The middle class folk have to, one, recognize their privilege and understand that while you can afford something, some of our others may not be able to, so you need to be fighting for them. The lower class folk, quote unquote, lower income rather, because you're not lower class. The lower income folk, Black folk, are going to have to understand that there are ways for us to develop allies for those who may have a little bit more, and there's opportunities for us to work together. And then collaboratively, we push back against these systems, i.e. developers, who are consistent in terms of not allowing for any of us really to be in certain spaces. Yeah. When you asked the question about what Kaya was doing in terms of trying to hold developers accountable, there's something called inclusionary zoning. Those are ways in which we can be able to address these measures. But more than anything else, our council has to have the political will to be able to say, we are not going to allow for this. Now, there'll be clowns like Jerry Miller who will come and say, well, if you don't allow developers to be able to build here, then you won't have any money for some of the programs in which so many of you say that you need. I do not believe that to be true. This is Charlottesville, Virginia. People always want to come here. They always want to build here. Come hell or high water, if one developer leaves, rest assured there'll be another one who comes in who will be willing to play by our rules if we set the rules. And as my sister Tessa Figueroa and Diddy says, we got to hold the line. So if we hold the line and we push the line for what is necessary, then we'll get what we want. But that doesn't happen overnight. We have to be patient with people, but impatient with progress. Everyone does not know the same things. So while we having to educate each other, simultaneously those who may know have to be able to push. And then we're developing our army. But I firmly believe that we're going to get there. Hell, I can look around and see where we're already getting there. This progress is happening. We just got to, again, be able to run this marathon. This ain't no 3K. This ain't no 5K. This ain't no 10K. This ain't a 2-mile race. We're running a marathon. People say life is short. In fact, it's the longest thing in which we'll ever do. And I want to run my race for my people. I may not see the promised land, quote unquote, but when I leave here, I want to know that when on my last breath and my children and my family knows that I gave everything that I can for my people. And I think collectively, we all just have to commit ourselves to doing a little bit more, and we're going to get there.
Couldn't say it better.
What we say after that, Charles?
The only thing I would say is, like, let's make this marathon a relay as well, brother.
No
like,
doubt.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes,
No
you know,
doubt.
take a water break and then pick it back up. And, you know,
No doubt. But also recognize some of us are in better shape than others.
That's facts.
Right? So some of us are prepared to run a longer race for a longer time. But yeah, you definitely need a break and pass that baton on. Shit, shoot. I see my baton we get too. I see the baton being passed all the time. That's why I was shouting out, like, you know, the Roberts, the Jamars, the Daniels, you know, the so many people who are doing such great things in the community, because there are a lot of people who are carrying this work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We all doing it.
So as we close, Max, I mean, like, now I got to go to the gym when we leave here. Like, you hear that sneak diss?
Oh, no.
I just got the sneak diss from Dr. West.
No diss at all. I'm definitely going to the gym when I leave.
No, but Brother West, man, thank you as always, good sir.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a 20-minute talk. It's an hour and a half.
Yeah.
But we good.
I didn't promise that.
The only 2 cents that I would add to your the remarks you just gave just now, Wes, is that these units also not only need to be affordable but deeply affordable. When we start talking about AMI, don't want to lose that point.
Yeah.
And then also the fact that just because a developer allows an affordable unit, a deeply affordable unit, a lot of times we still get lost in translation because of the barriers that are put in place to qualify or be eligible in order to rent those units. And oftentimes they don't represent that accurately when they are proposing something to.
No. So that's why, like, again, as you alluded to, all of us have different roles. And in our roles, for those of us who are able to read the fine print and then follow up, we got to be able to easily communicate and translate that to our larger community. Like, we just talked about this. Shout out to my sister Angela Rod. Like, we just had this conversation about Sexy Red saying how people in the hood love Trump. And like, she's like, well, like, that's crazy. And I'm like, nah, I hear that all the time when I'm around the way, because it's a real thing. People, not everybody, but obviously there are people, because one thing that people say is like, well, shoot, Trump gave me them checks. Not recognizing that it was actually Congress.
Yeah.
Not recognizing that it was actually Trump who held the checks up and he just wanted to put his name on it. And subsequently, those checks were taxed and we had to pay them back. But if we don't understand how Congress is responsible for certain things, if we don't understand these processes, then a master manipulator can then come through and trick an uneducated person on a particular topic. So then what does that mean? Those of us who do know better, we have to do a better job of engaging with our people on the ground in our communities to let them know, like, nah, let me put you on game. This is actually what happened. We can't blame the person who doesn't know for not knowing and then believing a trickster. That's what the trickster goes to do. But those of us who do know, we got to do the hard work. I feel you. It's hard. We got to do the hard work of engaging with our own to help them to understand, which means we can't be afraid of our people, which means that we cannot say that, well, that's them over there and they ignorant, they don't know nothing. So when y'all ask me, well, dang, why you spend so much time in these certain communities? One, because I love us.
Right.
Secondly, I grew up in a place in which we didn't get a lot of information. And then lastly, if I know this, why am I going out and telling everybody? That's what we have to do. So when you ask me this question about like, is Charlottesville home or will I leave or go anywhere else? Now I done turned down jobs that pay $400,000 a year to stay here because this is home. So we have an obligation, those of us who know, to sacrifice in some regard, but also go out and educate. And that's what we gotta do. And that's what y'all doing up here on the radio station. So much love.
You here. That's right, Dr. Wes Bellamy, my
much
man.
love, man. My man.
Thank you for
Love
coming
you, bro.
through.
Thank you.
Yes.
So family, don't go anywhere. We still got much more info for you. I'm telling you.
But not for me.
Dr. Wes, but when we come back, Sandra and Tamika from Charlottesville Tomorrow, reporter Tamika, and Charlottesville United for Public Education, and they have the City School Board Forum coming up in association with your boy and your girl, IMHO Vinegar Hill. So, hey, stay tuned. We're going to give y'all a rundown on that next. Stay tuned, IMHO.
Thank you, Wes.
All right.
We live in a society in which structural racism is a very real thing. We are all dealing with that in every aspect of our lives, and the media is a reflection of our community.
Historically, black people have been portrayed a certain way in the media to justify normative assumptions around political and social issues.
More black people behind the cameras, in front of the cameras, more producers, more people of color producing, so they can go and get the content that's needed so they can highlight our attributes.
I've been in this industry for 15 years, and I've seen firsthand how our voices just aren't heard. Even if you're in the newsroom, sometimes you get completely ignored and stereotypes are allowed to perpetuate. And one thing we want to do is combat that and also bring information to people so they can be as informed as possible when choices are made in this city, so they can do whatever they can to get their voices heard.
What I believe can be done about the situation is to have more people of color creating news stories, more people who have a interest in and a social consciousness that relates to the stories that they're telling.
Charlottesville Tomorrow looks at these issues. We can present them on IMHO. Vinegar Hill Magazine can take that a step further, and just together we can just make this thing that can be an example of how we can change the media landscape, how we can be more inclusive to get these voices in, to get these people heard. That's just one thing that doesn't happen in so many places, and it's a shame.
We think we live in a society that's very progressive, and we're talking about equity and diversity and inclusion and all these things. Still, the way that black people, and I would say, and I would argue, especially black men, are portrayed by the media is incredibly dangerous, and you've seen the sort of tangible violence that it's led to over the past year.
The community can support the SIM project by first and foremost giving us an opportunity. We understand that it can be difficult to give trust right now, especially considering the current social and political environment. But this project will only be as successful as the community allows it to be. And so we ask you to give us the opportunity to do the work, critique the work, and make sure that we stay aligned with the vision. Another way that the community can get behind the SIM project is through engagement. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you're talking about. We want to put your stories out there. And so whether it's reading the articles written by Charlottesville Tomorrow or Vinegar Hill Magazine, or tuning in to In My Humble Opinion on Sundays on 101.3 Jamz from noon to 3 p.m., either way, we want you engaged. We want you to be part of this. The community can also support the SIM project through funding. To learn more about how to support SIM, you can visit our website. Thank you for your support.
Hello.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jamz.
IMHO Talk Show. Sir Charles, Miss Max, Razor.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion
With Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jamz.
Yep. Back like we never left, Miss Max. You get tired of my little sayings because we still here entertaining, and we told you to tell a friend because this is a jam-packed show with so much good information. IMHO Talk Show online, streaming worldwide, broadcasting in this greater Charlottesville region. And speaking of the greater Charlottesville region, Miss Max, we want the folks to know as we talk about election season and what have you coming up. One of the big ones, as we say, Max, looking at the glitter and the gold of the national elections is not enough. Is normally that does not have the direct immediate impact on our day-to-day livelihood as the local elections. And one is Mama Bear, aka Miss Max, the schools.
Yeah.
How you taking care of my babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have none other than folks from Charlottesville United for Public Education in our community doing great work. This sister been here with us before. Miss Sandra. Sandra, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? How are y'all?
Doing great.
Doing good. I must have missed you because I don't believe you.
Yeah, you weren't here.
Okay.
Me and Aaron did though.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, me and Aaron had on last time she was here. But it was like last year, like when you first started with Coop.
Actually, I think it was almost like exactly a year ago.
Yeah. That's dope.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And we also have sister girl Tamika, with reporter for Charlottesville Tomorrow. Tamika, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, I can.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thank
Hi,
y'all.
Tamika.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, so thank y'all for joining us. So Tamika, I shout your work out all the time. The folks know about you and your colleagues over at Charlottesville Tomorrow. We always reference your work when it comes to some of our topics here. But Sandra, some folks may not be as familiar with you and COOP, which is the acronym for Charlottesville United for Public Education. So go ahead and let the folks know about why COOP is important and why you're here today.
Yeah, so COOP started off as a grassroots development from people within our community that were parents and grandparents that saw a necessity within particularly our Black and Brown communities, and really being able to center those voices within those communities and bring those basically to the places where we want those voices heard. So gathering feedback from parents and community members, going to like bus stop visits, doing community visits, and the information that we gather, we kind of bring it all together, kind of, digest what it is that we're hearing, and then we get the most, things that we're hearing the most within the community, and think of a plan, but also bring it to the places where these, things that we're hearing matter. So bringing them to city council, bringing them to school board meetings, and showing up, making public comment, and really voicing what it is that people within our communities want to be heard, and the things that they want for themselves and for their children.
Gotcha. Thank you. That sounds like important work. So is this something where you guys work with the PTOs at the school a lot, or is it like a volunteer basis to where like any parent of a city school, or is it more like a what do you call it? Like is it like a network of PTOs or just or independent people? Independent parents.
Yeah. So the feedback that we gather, it's just basically independent right now. We do go to all of the Walker Buford PTO meetings. So we do make sure that we know what's going on within, certain things within the education system. But we are planning a peer engagement plan. So that's going to bring at least 2 people from every school within the city of Charlottesville to be able to kind of allow us to better structure how we're receiving feedback, and also like being able to get more feedback, and then, mobilize more folks that are able to, help us with the movement that we're trying to create within the city of Charlottesville.
Yeah. Awesome. That's awesome work.
So let's just jump right in maybe with some of the things that you're hearing from local parents, some of the issues they're bringing to you.
Right now, what we're hearing the most of is going to be the mental health and wellness of kids. We know that transportation has been an ongoing issue, but for whatever reason, like parents have made that work. They've had to be flexible when it comes to their schedules, and when it comes to, bringing in other family members to do pickups. So I think that people have done really, really well at dealing with the transportation issues, but what they haven't seen a lot of like focus on or support when it comes to what they're seeing within their children is that mental health and wellness aspect. And we know that that's a direct link to safety within the city of Charlottesville. These are children that are seeing violence within their communities. They're seeing, adults that are being violent to each other, and in turn, they're being violent to their peers, right? Yeah. So we know that a lot of the issues that we go through, it's a lot deeper than what we look at it on a surface level. It's not about, not being able to necessarily direct your emotions in the way that you want to be able to direct your emotions. A lot of times it's a lot of things that it's generational. Their parents probably didn't have the support that they needed when it came to their emotional health. And so we're really trying to figure out a good way to be able to bring folks from the community that are passionate about those things, about being able to, create some sort of system that allows us to have healing within our communities. So that's one of the things that it's obviously one of the things that's more complex to deal with, because there's a lot of things that we would have to legally put in place and make sure that we're doing it right and we're not crossing any boundaries. But we know that it's very, very important to focus our energy on being able to support our communities in that healing process.
So it makes me think, of course, I got a kid at the high school, and the one that graduated from CHS last year. We're new to the school system, that was in our second year. And it's dealt with some challenges that I could say kind of shell-shocked my kids to a degree. We come from Greene County, William Monroe High School, and so some of the things that they experienced at school was an adjustment and a little unnerving for both them and me. And how to maneuver through all of that was challenging, and I can't say that we ever really necessarily got a real solution. We just figured out how to best get through it, press through it, as we often have to do. Individuals in general often have to do. But it's a real issue, and it's something that I think the schools maybe, you can let me know what you or your organization feel about it, but the schools have taken some initiatives to try to help curb some of the activity that has been negatively impacting the student body, but it's a challenge. It's an ongoing one. There's no easy answer, and trying to figure out how to work through it.
Yeah. Yes. I'm curious. Like, are you guys getting inundated with like a lot of requests and folks coming to you asking you to maybe to advocate or asking for things that may be outside of the scope of your work? If you can break that down on when it comes to parents, hearing you talk right now, and they may be going through something, as Max we were talking about, like sort of what's in the scope of how Coop can help a parent or a child versus things that are outside of the scope.
Right. So when we do visits, like particularly like the pickup visits, we do get a lot of feedback from parents that's like, oh, my child is getting bullied or was being bullied, and my child or my grandchild was suicidal, right? And so we get a lot of things that's like, we encourage to seek like further help on things like that, but also we are very like limited to the things that we're able to do within the school itself. And so we make sure that we let people know that we're not going against what the schools are doing. We're trying to support their work. But we do want to be kind of like that bridge between like the school and the parents, and being able to figure out how can we better support the parents by better supporting the school and vice versa, right? Kind of like a something that harmoniously works back and forth. Right. So I definitely think that, Charlottesville City Schools are trying their best when it comes to a lot of the things that we're hearing. But, even on the topic of mental health, like I've had meetings with people that work within the mental health field of schools, and, just the resources that they're able to tap into and what they're able to do, it's all like tapped out. And so we know that, while everybody's working hard, there are always going to be those like, if it's not like a certain tier of a student that requires a certain level of attention, then they're not going to get those services. So
ladies and gentlemen, we are joined by the Charlottesville United for Public Education, and you're the chair, right?
No, I'm the community organizer.
Community organizer.
Yes.
Okay, look, I already gave you a promotion.
Yeah, thank you.
Just go ahead and accept it. And we are also joined. We're going to bring in Tamika now, reporter for Charlottesville Tomorrow. And so folks may know we've already been promoting it for you guys, but there's a panel coming up, well, a forum rather, debate, if you will, of the candidates. Some of the candidates for the Charlottesville City School Board. So that is part of the city election this year. And so this forum that's in conjunction with Charlottesville Tomorrow, Figure Hill Magazine, and My Humble Opinion, that's going to be taking place here soon. And that's going to be over at the Hope Community Center, right, on October 18th, the evening of. And so the importance of putting that together and sort of the origins on why you guys wanted to work on that. So first, like who brought that idea to the table? Tamika, was it Cedar Tomorrow, or was it Coop that met with Charlottesville Tomorrow? Like, how did this come to fruition?
So from my understanding, because we have a committee within Charlottesville United, we came up with this idea that we wanted to be able to, because one of the things that we try to do, and we try to do it at least like monthly, or where we have a theme, where we're bringing forward like information to our community. So we had a lot of things that we did for transportation. We had a transportation webinar that gave updates and information for parents to be able to like tune in and really get like a feel of how things are like going. And we came up with recommendations that were presented to both the school board and city council. So we were like, okay, well, what's another thing that we could potentially do to bring awareness or, kind of like attention to within the community that we wanted to make sure that people knew about, right? And that was the upcoming school board elections. So our committee was like, yeah, we should do this. And then so from there, we kind of started our planning process, and we thought, Charlottesville Tomorrow, they do great work. We were like, we should definitely see if they're willing to team up with us, and thankfully they did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I did misspeak. And Tamika, you didn't even correct me. You're supposed to have my back, Tamika.
Oh, wow.
The event is actually at Jefferson School. I don't know why I had Hope on the Brain, Hope Community Center. But the event is October 18th. Charlottesville School Board Candidate Forum, 6 o'clock, Jefferson School African American Heritage Center. So Tamika, from your perspective, like what's your role in this, and like why is this an important task that you wanted to be a part of?
Yeah, so in regards to like what I'm doing with the forum, I am moderating it primarily. So I'll be the one, handling the questions with the candidates, but also like helping create questions and just whatever else, whatever logistics CUPE needs. We're trying to, do our best to help. But
I'm sorry to interrupt. And Tamika, who are the candidates for school board this year?
Yeah, so actually this is actually for the first time in like about over 20-ish years, we're having like four candidates, but 4 candidates who are, how do I word this? Since there are exactly 4 seats open, all candidates will essentially just be a part of the school board like come January. But the 4 people are Amanda Burns, Chris Meyer, Nicole Richardson, and Shamora Cooper. Is her name correctly? They all have varying levels of connections to Charlottesville City Schools. Like some are parents, some are part of CUBE, just other organizers in the area. They were the 4 who were qualified to run. So but despite it being uncontested, I knew it would still be a good idea for the community to get to know them. So when CUBE came up with the idea of the forum and brought it to me, I was like, you know what, this is actually a great idea. So yeah, this is our chance to really connect the community with, their future school board members.
Yeah. And so, what do you all plan on getting from this forum? Like, what's your end goal and your wildest dreams when people attend this and walk away from it? What's the goal? What's the outcome that you're hoping for? You can go first.
Yeah. So I ideally, from my perspective, I think this is a great way for the community to get involved that isn't at a school board meeting. We'll have a lot of active parents and organizers come to school board meetings, but that's once a month type. So having the chance for them to really get to know them and ask these questions up front before they take office is really interesting. Because we're going to touch on some of just the current issues and topics that Charlottesville City Schools is dealing with right now. But yeah, so this will be a great chance for them to get to know them and really have them just consider some of their opinions and stuff before you take office.
Thank you for this work. And Sandra, as we wrap up, I'll give the last word to you when it comes to what you hope to see from this and how folks can reach out to you and get involved. Yeah.
So for me, it's really about giving the opportunity for the school board members to kind of have the opportunity to really give their insight on what it is that they feel on specific topics. I think that it's super amazing that 2 of the people that are running for school board are actually people that are on the committee for Charlottesville United for Public Education, because that really shows that what it is, what we're actually trying to accomplish. The fact that we have 2 people running for school board on our committee really shows that we're committed to making a difference within education, right? Otherwise, people wouldn't be I'm interested in running for school board. But what I would like to get out of this is really trying to create a more personal relationship with people who are in places of making decisions like school board members. And so I would really like to see people within the community feel more of a relationship with the people that and so that's what I would really like to see.
Awesome. That's spot on. And last but not least, for folks to get more information about CUPE and to maybe volunteer and definitely attend this, how should they reach out to you guys?
Yeah.
What's the best way to reach out?
So the best way would be if you go to our website, you'll be able to get all of our information. My contact information is there. It also gives you updates as to current things that we're doing, events, things like that. And we update our calendar. So we also have like other community events, other people that we partner with, that we support within their work as well. We try to keep that up to date.
Some good stuff. Sandra, thank you as always. And don't be a stranger. Anything y'all have going on coming up, please let us know. Definitely a great asset to the community. Appreciate y'all work. And Tamika, keep up the great writing too.
Thank you guys.
Great journalism, you got to reach us as well over Charlottesville tomorrow. So, been a great show, Max.
Been a great show.
Jam packed. And the Chief Rocker DJ Almighty definitely wanted me to make sure that y'all remember October 28th, 9 to 1, because we're a cornerstone of this radio station, Max. Believe it or not, 8-year anniversary of the actual radio station. The celebration is going to be going down with the Cash Bar, the Halloween Black and Yellow Masquerade with DJ W, Miss Kitty hosting the Best Western in Zion Crossroads. The Best Western is going to be featuring Red, R&B sensation, Fire Cash. And so y'all definitely want to check that out and continue to support your local hip hop and R&B station, 101 Jamz. And shouts out to our sponsor this week as well, none other than our boy Aaron.
Oh yeah,
the Aaron Simmons team at First Heritage Mortgage coming through with some sponsorship. Appreciate y'all, family. It's been great. You know how to reach us. Tell your friends to follow up on the show if they missed it, and if you want to run it back. I am HO Talk Show. Until next time.
Take care. Oh, that's because we didn't have more time. No, but thanks for coming. So.